When women dare to fully be themselves, to rise up as the divine beings they are, to operate in their magic, their sexuality, their power, they are always labeled one thing: wicked.
Wicked is a podcast for women who dare to walk in their true identity, power, and magic, who go against societal culture of being seen and not heard, who are the black sheep and powerhouses the structure tries to defeat. And here is your shepherd leading you astray, Mystic.
Hi everybody, welcome back to Wicked. I hope the holiday season is starting off good for you guys. Mine has been a little bit chaotic, but I have to say the thing that I have missed most these last couple weeks is recording my podcast, because this is definitely my outlet and my passion and something that I really am striving to always have time to do. I'm hoping December is a lot more calm for me, that is for sure. I wanted to talk about something that I deem very, very important, especially in our society today, and that is sex. And I wanted to title this episode Sacred Sexuality because I feel like in our society, sex is not looked at as sacred anymore. It's just looked at as something you do to have an orgasm or to have a good time, and it's exploited in every way possible. I mean, the media uses sex to sell toothpaste today, so it really has dulled down the importance of sex and how sacred this act truly is. I feel like the pendulum has swung very far in two directions with this topic. I feel like in, the beginning of time, sex was a taboo. It was looked at as dirty or something you don't talk about. Abstinence was the only thing that was ever taught, especially to women. And I want to preface this a little bit by saying the majority of what I'm about to say is how sex is taught to women specifically. I know that there are men that listen to this podcast, and I'm very appreciative to them. And I would almost be interested, if you are male, after you listen to this podcast, maybe drop me a line on social media to let me know how sex was actually taught to you and your perception of it. This is really important because our sexual culture here in the West is male dominant, and everything women are taught is for male pleasure. I'll get into that more later in the episode. I just wanted to, kind of put that out there now because it is important, the point of view in which I'm, discussing this. Obviously, I'm a woman, so I have experienced what it's like being raised female in a sexualized society, because I am what is sexualized. And it's my body that's used to sell you toothpaste. And I'm the one that gets called names for being sexually active. I'm the one who gets called names for not being sexually active. I'm the one who's exploited. So this is where my point of view is coming from. And I would be interested of what it's like to be a male in our culture, where you are, you're praised for your body count, you're praised for, the more sex you have, the more partners you have. It's everything is catered towards you and your pleasure in the bedroom and what women should be doing. The whole entire porn industry is for men. It is in no way, shape, or form for women. It's not for gay women. It's not for anything. No porn ever created is for the female. The pendulum is swinging in these two directions. So it went from like abstinence and taboo to now it's like fuck anybody you want and it doesn't matter. So obviously when there's two extremes like this, it's society trying to balance itself out and find what middle ground is. I kind of feel like the pendulum's going more and more in the opposite direction. You have people promoting very bizarre sex now, and you have people that are trying to make pedophilia okay. So this is going like very, very extreme, and it's not going to just naturally fall to center. Our society has to actually step up and bring the pendulum back to center, and this is actually going to be done through the women. It will not be done through the men. I'm sorry, but men are more perverted than women are. And I'm not saying there aren't female perverts. Of course there are. But women in general, we have this, as much as they try to drain it out of us, we do naturally gravitate, whether we realize it or not, subconsciously, towards sex as being some type of sacred act. Okay. So I was raised in like a super Christian home, right? And basically my parents' point of view was don't talk about sex and just don't have it until you're married. Now that didn't really set someone up like me for success at all. I don't think that sets up anybody for success, period. But I always have been somebody who felt a certain particular power as being female. And yes, that was always like oppressed, always oppressed. And I was made to be very ashamed of who I was. And I feel like that's the story for most women. And if you think back to probably teen era, you'll see where society around you or people around you began influencing how you felt about sex and about your power. Obviously, you know, as a woman that your sexuality has the ability to make men do things, control situations, and that's actually like really preyed upon. Look at our society today. You know, sex is used to sell just about anything. And our power within sex is taken from us to feed big corporate and them making money. And it's perverted through the porn industry. And it's watered down and taken away from us as a power. And, you know, generally a woman who is in her sexuality, enjoys sex, and especially when you're younger, you're of course labeled a hoe, right? You're called all kinds of names. And on the opposite end of that spectrum, if you're somebody who doesn't want to have sex, you're called a prude. So really there's no winning for a woman. She's either loose and a whore or she's a prude with a stick up her ass. So there is no like middle ground. I was somebody who always enjoyed sex, but I was also somebody who didn't sleep around, and I would never sleep with somebody who I wasn't dating. I have a very, very low count in the bedroom. I believe that I have slept with 7 men in my entire life, and 2 of them were my husbands. So I never wanted to share that energy with just anybody. But when I was with somebody, I always wanted to go to certain depths with sex that I knew that were there subconsciously. Of course, when you're younger, good luck finding a man that understands that. I didn't even really truly understand what it was I was seeking towards. But I feel like this is a huge issue in our society because you're taught like fucking feels good. It's goal oriented, meaning reaching orgasm. Most women are taught that they can't even achieve that. So sex, and because of the porn industry, which is all about men, everything kind of is around men. So most women, I don't want to it's weird to say women when you're like a teenager, right? But it's like, so most females in that like teen realm that are starting to experiment with sex, a lot of them don't even achieve orgasm because their mothers definitely aren't talking to them about it. So their mothers most likely aren't even achieving orgasm. So we're stuck in this trap of sex is used to sell things. You're supposed to be sexual as a woman, but not enough to be a whore, not less enough to be prude. And when you're having sex, it's all for male gratification. And this is a huge problem because there's so much more to sex, right? I believe that the reason why I had some type of firm foundation in how I viewed sex was actually through my Nona, because she used to talk to me about it. I mean, I probably was like 10. I was really, I mean, I guess in today's age, that's not young. Like, I feel like kids learn about sex on fucking Barney today. Actually, we have a major problem in our society today with pedophilia. For some reason, adults are promoting the sexuality of minor children, and it's very, very bizarre. My Nona, she always used to tell me to not sleep around because men are going to talk and they're going to walk around and say, hey, I had her. She was a Sicilian who came here on the boat, you know, lived in New York, New Jersey area. So she had a thick, one of those stereotypical thick New York Italian accents. And she used to say all kinds of stuff to me. Marisa, oral sex is sex too. Don't let them fool you. So, you know, I'm taking notes. Like I feel like, especially when I was a teenager, she was drilling this stuff into my head. And so I didn't want guys talking about me in the locker room thinking I was easy. I wanted, she always put in there, like, make sure, you know, the man is supposed to chase you or he's a dud. And then you like fast forward to today's society where like men are for some reason wanting you to fucking pay for your own date, split shit 50-50 and show up with flowers at their fucking door. Like my Nana would call that a dud. So she was always telling me, play hard to get, don't date duds. Sex is sex. Don't let them fool you. And so I, you know, really when I was going into my like, my newly found sexual era, I had that ingrained in my brain, and I was not about to like, you know, be the talk of anybody. And so, yeah, I absolutely made my boyfriends work for it. I wasn't fucking on the first date. Some of my boyfriends, it was over a month until I would sleep with them because she ingrained that in me. But then I knew there was something more there with this energy, and it wasn't like, to me, there was like a certain expression in it, and I felt like I could express myself very well through sex. The problem with this for me was that I always had this overriding shame and guilt about it because of the religious household I grew up in. Like, you know, for my parents, it's like sex is this like huge taboo thing. But then my Nana's telling me sex is amazing. It's just that you have to, you know, do it the right way. So I wanted to fully live in what I was being taught from my Nona. But then I had this just like shame and guilt of what I was taught through religion. And, you know, that might be the case for a lot of women growing up in the Western world, or if they're growing up in religious households as well. There's like this religious connotation of, you know, sex is dirty. It's bad to even be naked, right? According to the Adam and Eve story. And so, you know, a lot of people that grow up in Christian-based religions, Abrahamic religions, women specifically get the, you know, the rundown on sex, and that they're basically dirty if they do it. So yeah, there was a lot of time periods where I felt like guilty for enjoying sex so much. So now if you fast forward to like our culture today, sex is watered down. And what I mean by this is that over the years, sex has become less and less of a special thing and more of something that's just promoted to do with anybody. This is a huge problem, especially for women. So let's start the conversation here. Sex sells, and corporate knows that. And so they use the female body to sell anything from fucking toothpicks to clothing to whatever. The female body is literally looked at as like a fashion statement, and, you know, big lips are in, big lips are out, big boobs are in, big boobs are out, big butts are in, big butts are out. Like as if our bodies themselves are pieces of clothing to hang up into your closet and take down, and women are getting surgeries and getting surgeries removed. And it's really crazy out there that our body is some type of fashion statement. And the majority of women follow this because they want to be wanted. They want to be the sexual, they want to be sexually attractive. They want men to want them. And so they go by all these fads that are put in the media, which are really only put there so corporations make money. They make money on clothes, makeup, surgeries, and women are always the ones that are suffering because of this. And men, I don't see commercials for men needing to go get butt lifts and to get lip injections and to get breast implants and to get all of these weird surgeries done. And it's interesting to me because in the wild, this is the complete opposite. The female species in nature doesn't flaunt around trying to get the man to come to them. The females actually, like, especially like in birds, they're not even the pretty ones. It's always the males, like the male peacocks are the gorgeous ones. And, most bird species are like that. And the males are the ones that are dancing and bringing gifts and showing off in front of the females because they want to be picked. In our culture, flip that. It is not natural for the woman to have to flaunt around and show what she brings to the table. That's like this new thing that I'm seeing all over TikTok. I mean, it's probably not new, but I'm like newish on TikTok. So like, oh, what does the woman bring to the table? Excuse me? I allow your DNA in my fucking body. That's what I bring to the table. I bring my pussy to the table. How about that? I don't need to bring anything else. The male species in animals are the ones that have to prove that they're excellent providers, that they can sustain a fucking family. That is completely up to them, because if the female doesn't pick them, there is no offspring. There is no offspring. As females, they're looking at the male like, is their DNA worthy to reproduce with? And if some weak ass bird is showing up flapping half a wing and can't even like bring me a worm, no, you are not worthy. You are not worthy to reproduce with. Sex is for reproduction. Now, yes, us as humans, we get to have like a whole other aspect that animals don't get, but you still need to remember that as a woman, you're allowing someone's fucking DNA in your body. Now, let's really talk about this, because what is in DNA? There's like a whole gene pool, a whole history. And unfortunately for me, I never really even thought about like my partner's family line and like what their karma is and what they're like. But I'm becoming more and more aware of this, as I go through certain situations in my life. And it's like that DNA line is going inside your body. Okay. And that energy is literally in your womb. And when things go in your womb, it reproduces. Your womb creates. That's what it does. And the media today really promotes through music and TV and movies for you to sleep around with whoever, and sex is not a big deal. I was actually told by somebody, it had to be at least 5 years ago now, maybe more, that in today's society, kissing is looked at as more intimate than sex. And people will fuck, but they won't kiss until way later because that's intimate. People will have oral sex, but then, and let me back up, because you know it's mostly men getting their dick sucked, okay? Because women, for some reason, most of them have a hard time letting men go down on them. And I see this constantly, and I talk to women about this constantly, because it's another thing that is ingrained in us where we have no problem getting down on our knees and worshiping a cock, but when it's time to have our pussies worshipped, we are suddenly embarrassed. Okay? And this all stems from programming, because sex revolves around cock worship. It should be the opposite. So how we got to a point in our society where kissing is a more intimate act than having sex is like, I can't really even comprehend that. Like, what happened to first base and second base and third? That's the fun of it, right? The chase. There's no chase anymore. And so, you know, women are falling into this trap of, it's like sexual liberation to sleep with anybody. But we need to go back to understand that sexual liberation for females has nothing to do with going around and fucking everybody, and fucking anybody. And it actually has to do with you choosing somebody who is the right match for you, because you can smell their hormones because you're not on birth control. So listen, if you are on the pill, you are not picking the right partners. This is actually a proven scientific study. You can look them up yourself. When you are on the pill and have artificial hormones in your body, you cannot properly choose the right male for you based on their DNA. And this is because all people have pheromone scent, especially men when they're sweating. And your partner's sweat is putting off certain hormones, pheromones, and you're smelling that, and you will be turned on by their smell, because it will be a good genetic match for you. So you will automatically be attracted to that person sexually. This is like primal instinct. So being on the pill completely fucks with that. This is probably why a lot of women, when they are on the pill, they choose partners, they want to get pregnant by these men, get off the pill, and then afterwards they're not attracted to their partner anymore. A lot of times, I mean, there's a lot that goes into this. What I'm saying is, this is a very loaded topic, which I'm sure I'll get into at some point. But one of the things here absolutely can be the fact that all of a sudden you're not on the pill, and you are no longer, you're not attracted to the dud anymore. You know, you're realizing they're a dud. Most likely, if you were off the pill, you would have sniffed this out. Okay, so this is one of the many. So basically, what female species in the wild is looking for are provider protectors. This is going to ensure that themselves and their young survive in this cold, hard world, right? So that is still ingrained in our own animalistic nature as females, but we're taught to ignore that, and that we are supposed to be our own provider protectors and also do all of the mom things that we're supposed to do with our children. And this is a huge issue, and it's a huge topic in our society right now, because, men are trying to step down even further from what their responsibilities are as males. And so it's causing women to actually have to be both genders in a relationship and to fulfill both of those dynamics as male and female. And that is feminine and masculine, I should say. And that's causing a huge issue, because we don't want to be feminine and masculine. We just want to be feminine. And so to put that responsibility on us more and more, it's causing more and more women to not want to be in relationships, to not want to get married, to not want to have children. what is the benefit in any of that for us if we're having to also be the provider protector and we need to do everything? We have to fulfill both roles because men don't want to step up to the plate. The false feminine movement is what is promoting this the most, because they're saying sexual liberation for women is sleeping around with anybody, and that female empowerment is working a 9-to-5, being her own provider, being her own protector, and then, maybe choosing not to have kids or doing both, or, motherhood is kind of like put on the back burner in modern feminism. Really, the most empowering thing a woman can do is have children, because A, that's what we were made for, and B, because then it's in our control of how we're going to raise up the next generation. If you want to see serious changes happen with the male species on this planet, it's really up to us how we're raising our sons and the type of males we're allowing around our sons. So we need to go back to basic number one, which is, what the fuck kind of DNA are you allowing in your body? You really need to think about this. It's pretty well known that there's a spiritual undercurrent that's going, like, you can't deny spirituality at this point. I'm not sure how anybody at this point in time is atheist, but you have to, even if you don't believe in a god or goddess or anything like that, and you don't have a spiritual practice like that, you can't deny that there's certain waves that are controlling what humanity is doing right now, and that it obviously is serving some ultra purpose. So putting this falsified information out there to downplay the importance of sex, women in their wombs are accepting all this energy. Listen, you can, I'm talking getting DNA up in your womb of literally a whole fucking family line. Like, you're talking about the energy of not just the person that you're fucking, but their parents, their parents' parents. Like, that's all a karmic line that is like now being put into your womb. And what in your womb space is how you create life. It's how you create physical life, but it's also how you create your own life. And this is why a lot of you ladies, when you're sleeping with somebody who is a dud, your life suddenly becomes duddy. Your money starts getting all fucked up. Your glow goes away. Things start going wrong all of a sudden. Your business suddenly isn't doing as good. You aren't, hitting the bar at your job that you usually are. You're suddenly more tired and wanting to nap. Because you have a whole new DNA line, and all of their karma's up in your body, and your body's processing that in your most sacred area. Your womb is your most sacred area. And that's not taught enough to young women, how sacred your pussy is, how sacred your womb space is. Because if it was, you wouldn't allow just anybody putting their DNA and their nasty ass energy up in there. It doesn't matter if you're using condoms, if he's pulling out, if whatever. There is energy attached to all people. And you, as a female, receive energy. When you have sex, you receive the man into your body. Hello. Just that image alone should say a lot to you. Who are you allowing in? Don't be going out on dates with boys on apps, allowing them inside your body, depositing energy and DNA into your womb space, which you create life, your life from, and expect some miraculous thing to happen from that. Sure, you may be getting some type of sexual gratification, but that is such a surface level of what sex is. If you're having goal-oriented sex, means sex for orgasms, meaning, how do I say this? Because yes, orgasms are important. I'm not downplaying orgasms, especially the female orgasm. We're going to get into that. But to just get off, that's very to me, that's very high school level sex. It's like, you can do that at home. You can masturbate and give yourself an orgasm, okay? When you're with another person, though, there is a whole other realm and a different level in sex that you're able to attain if you're with the right partner. They need to be spiritually aligned. They need to be emotionally aligned. They need to not have bunk DNA. They need to be completely in their masculine and what it means to be in masculine energy, not this patriarchal bullshit. How aware of their own shit are they? Because if you're just going to allow that all up into your energy field on a first date, second date, third date, when you don't even know this person's history, what are you expecting to happen from this? Other than to get the end outcome that also masturbating can give you, which is actually a lot more safe. If women start shifting their perception and raising up their daughters to understand sex as a sacred act, so much will shift in our culture, it will be insane. Because women will not fall for mass media marketing anymore. We'll start flipping the switch and saying, no, you need to prove to me that you're worthy of entering into my body. And we will have respect for our womb space and start getting more in tune with just how powerful and sacred it is. And now this ties into the fact that most women are so disconnected from their yonis and their womb space that they're actually numb during sex. This is why the majority of women can't orgasm. They literally, it's like having an atrophied vagina. You can't experience pleasure other than clitoral stimulation, which a penis is just an extended clitoris. In sex, men actually have the bad end of the deal. They have a penis that they get genital mutilation at birth in this culture. I'm glad women are waking up to this and not letting doctors mutilate their babies. This causes sexual trauma. This also causes the penis to lose sensation because it's always rubbing up against everything and has nothing protecting it. So their penis, which now has experienced trauma the first week of their life, so now they mentally are in a state of sexual abuse. Their penis is more numb than it should be. And the male penis is used for ejaculation, orgasm, and peeing. This one thing. And they have one type of orgasm that they can experience. They also, I guess I'll say it's still just one orgasm because men can learn semen retention and they can move orgasm through their body, which would allow them to have a full body orgasm due to them understanding their energy field, how to move energy through their body, especially orgasmic energy, and how to retain semen. So I'll give men 2. They can have 2. Also, okay, I'll give them 3 because they can also have orgasms through prostate stimulation. So they're capable of 2.5. Half meaning the from semen retention and moving energy. So because the orgasm is still the same. So women, on the other hand, we have a lot of different orgasms that we can have. We can have clitoral, we can have vaginal, we can have cervical, which are the most life-changing orgasms that you can have. We can have nipple orgasms, we can have throatgasms, and vaginal opening orgasms and anal orgasms. So we have a lot that we can have. A lot. Now, women are very disconnected from their bodies. They probably have never seen or touched their own cervix. They probably have never experienced a vaginal orgasm. And we literally have medical science telling women 80% of women can't have orgasm, and the majority of them need clitoral stimulation in order to achieve orgasm. And this lie is perpetuated so much that Sigmund Freud's wife literally went under surgery to have her clitoris moved closer to her vaginal opening because she wanted it stimulated during sex. Yes, the clitoris is very powerful. There's hundreds of thousands of nerve endings in the clit that allow us to achieve orgasm, but all it is masturbating orgasm. It's friction that's causing something to happen. See, all of these other orgasms require an emotional and spiritual state. They require emotional vulnerability, and they require walls to be taken down for them to be experienced. If you do not feel safe with your partner on an emotional and spiritual and physical level, you will not experience any other of these orgasms because your body will not allow you to. They are the most emotional and deeply transforming orgasms you will ever experience in your life. Cervical orgasms, the effects of those will last for days. You will have emotional releases. Oh, I didn't even mention the G-spot orgasms and the ejaculating orgasms that women also receive. So how many have I named so far? 8? You only know about 1. This is how disconnected we are from our own sexuality. God forbid women actually knew this, because you think that they would just be faking orgasms in the bedroom starting at age 13? Nope. When you experience something deep like a cervical orgasm, even a vaginal orgasm, tons of emotions will release from your body because we actually store emotions in our womb space. They will make you cry. They will make you laugh. Old traumas you've been storing in your body that you haven't processed will come out for you to face. And you're not going to do that in like off some fucking Tinder app date that you fucking found after drinking 4 beers. Who made you split the bill at dinner? Like that's not gonna get you there. You can have masturbation sex. That's what we'll call it. You can have masturbation sex. And, you know, it might feel good to be connecting with a person, but are you really connecting? At what level are you actually connecting with somebody? It feels good to have another body up against yours, sure. At the cost of what, though? Whack DNA entering into your womb space? Some bunk-ass orgasm, or maybe none at all? The fake orgasm? The fake big O? The little O, the fake O. When women start honoring their body and actually learning about these orgasms and going deeper with them and learning how they create their life, you literally use sexual energy to create a physical fucking person that has a soul, that has a spirit. You create a physical human, which a spirit which has incarnated who knows how many times on this planet. You call that in to the body of that you're creating in your womb, and then it lives and walks this fucking earth. Like, women, look at your kids. You fucking did that. You did that. And if you listen to my free birth episode, you'll hear how, you know, the patriarchal system tries to rob that from you too. Because if you knew about sex and you knew about birth and how powerful it actually is and didn't let the patriarchy rob those two things, women would be wild and uncontrollable, trust me. There has been thousands of years of religion and government indoctrination to make sure you don't know this power, to make sure you let every Tom, Dick, and Harry put their DNA in your fucking body, and then that you're so unconsciously attached from your womb space, you don't even realize that you now have 10 years worth of men all up in your yoni, and their energy creating shit in your life still today. So how do you get it out? I am actually going to recommend a product here. No, it's not a plug. It's not, there ain't no sponsor of this show. Trust. If you've been following me for long enough, you know I am always telling women to do these. It's called Goddess Detox Pearls. Let me tell you something. The first time I used these was back in 2017 was the first time I used them. Holy shit. Holy shit. You can find them on Instagram. I think it says Goddess Detox Pearls. The first time I used it, on the second night, or maybe it was the first night, I had dreams of all of the people that I dated. They appeared before me in the dream and then vanished. And then the second round I did a huge emotional purge. I mean, emotional purge just came out. And it literally looked like the next morning when I went to pee, like there was a huge like scar tissue or something that came out. It was insane. But I totally feel the energetic cleanse from using that product. It's insane. And I highly suggest, I suggest doing it anyway, but especially if you want like an emotional, spiritual, sexual restart in your womb space, I would suggest doing a couple rounds of those pearls. Anyway, we need to get back in tune to what sacred sex is. Now, in the West, this has also become corrupted. Okay. I see like a lot on social media of Westerners talking about how they're like tantra, sex gurus, coaches, whatever. But knowing real tantra, now, let me just preface this. I am not trained in tantra. I don't have a specific guru in that path. I'm hoping one day I do get one. I do have somebody who is actually in India, who is actually on a real tantric path, who teaches me things. But what is in the West is labeled tantra has nothing to actually do with real tantra. Surprise, surprise there, right? Because the West, time and time again, takes Eastern practices and makes them devoid of spirituality and takes the physical aspect of something so they can charge money for it. And what it does is it just keeps you in those like base animalistic energies. So Tantra in the West is promoted as a sacred way to have sex. And it's basically sexual practices, like semen retention, or it's more like physical based, and it's based around orgasm. Now, from what I've been learning, real tantra actually has a lot to do with mantra. It has to do with a specific deity that is involved that you're invoking during sex. And the whole path of tantra, like true tantra, has to actually do with the things that would normally make you fall in a spiritual path. Alcohol, drug, like not like hard drugs, but we're talking about like weed or tobacco, sex, meat, things in the Eastern Indian culture that can be considered making you fall in spirituality. Tantra is actually just considered an occult version of spirituality where there's like deeper practices involved that you have to be initiated into. And you use the things that would normally make you fall in a spiritual way. But so when you're doing these things, mantras are chanted. And so, for example, during sex, this would be an offering to the deity. And first of all, to have a sexual partner in Tantra, both of your horoscopes need to be aligned with each other to see if you're a karmic match. If you're not, it won't even work. Again, because you're not an energetic match for each other. And if your karmas are on two different, this is why a lot of your guys' relationships don't work out. You're coming together with somebody and you're not even an energetic match for this person karmically. And so you guys are trying to walk together and do life together, but your karmic path isn't even in alignment. You could have really great karma for this lifetime, but you're fucking somebody who has bad karma. And so it's dragging you into their karma. And now it's just this like shit show and you're like working off their karma. Anyway, so tantric sex is actually, so it's deity focused. You have to go over the female body in all these certain points and chant mantras over the body to bless the female body, who is now looked at as Shakti. And during sex, you have to be chanting specific mantras the entire time because sex is an offering to that deity. And this could take, some of the mantras that you have to chant can take up to 30 minutes. And this is where male semen retention comes in. It's not for some type of elongated pleasure. It's so you have time to finish chanting all these mantras before you finish. Everything is very spiritual oriented. So from what I understand is when you take all of the spiritual aspect out of Tantra, all you're truly doing is blowing open all of your chakras, like to kind of put it in a Western terminology, like you're blowing them open and you're more likely to actually just become addicted to sex rather than actually doing what it's meant to be done for, because you're taking the spiritual aspect out of it and just doing it for something physical. What is sacred sex then? Because there's a couple people that I actually follow that I think actually have it pretty good. I don't believe they claim to be Tantra anything, because they're definitely not. I've never heard them talk about mantras or deities or anything, nor are they Indian. But there's a certain reverence that needs to be happening between two partners. And there's a depth of emotion that you need to feel comfortable talking about before you even get sexually involved. If you're just meeting somebody, you are, in my opinion, no way ready to have sex. Because would you talk to them about your most personal, deep, intimate feelings? Can you have a conversation? If you're with a male who's emotionally stunted and can't even have conversations about topics like money, or can't have conversations about your emotional well-being, and they take offense to it, like they're doing something wrong and fly off the handle, if they are stonewallers, if they are narcissistic in any way, you can't have sexual depth with a person like that. You can fuck, but you can't go to the deeper levels that sex has to offer. It's impossible. So you need to be with somebody for quite some time to even be able to reach these other orgasms as a female, because it requires you to start breaking down walls that you naturally have up as a form of protection. Those walls are meant to be there because not every man should have deep entrance into your womb/heart space. Your womb is your heart space. That's why when you have cervical orgasms, it goes so deeply into the heart. Polyamory never made any sense to me. And there's this huge thing that's been going on these past few years as if being woke to spirituality has to do with polyamory. Oh, just to throw this into what I also learned is that in Tantra, you can't even sit in some tantric circles in India unless you're married, because you need to have to understand that type of level of devotion. I just wanted to throw that in there. So polyamory is like sold as some kind of like wokeness. I don't buy into that at all, because I feel like, and this is what I kind of feel like cheating is as well. I feel like people cheat, and like the subconscious reality of this is that they can't go into the innermost depths with one person because it's endless. You'll get to a certain state and you'll hit a wall, because now you have to go even deeper into the heart. And people don't like to be psychologically and emotionally vulnerable, psychologically and emotionally nude. They can get physically nude, but the psychological, emotional nudity is something that they're afraid of. So they get to that wall, and instead of trusting their partner or wanting to trust their partner, they run to another person. Because you get to a certain point in sex where, okay, the chronic masturbation of one another isn't working. Like it's not as fun anymore, right? But just beyond that, if you take the emotional and psychological plunge with each other, you enter into a new level. And there's more things to be experienced. And then even after that, there's more depth and another wall that you got to get over. And it keeps going and going, and it's fucking endless. endless, endless, endless. You can go so deep with one person, you will be 90 years old and still doing it, because sex is so powerful. It's the most powerful energy on this planet. And when you start to understand this in your body, this becomes such a sacred act. It doesn't become a chore to have sex. If you think sex is a chore and you don't have any libido, A, you're with the wrong person. B, you way over here at the first wall, you haven't even gotten over it yet because you can't trust your partner. So when men or women run off, cheat, do whatever, it's because they're starting to approach this wall here and they can't do it. So they go and find somebody else to start back at square one with. And then they'll reach that one wall and have to leave again and go do it with somebody else. And so what they're doing is they're scratching the surface with multiple people instead of going really, really, really deep with one. So that's also a dud. Don't women settle for effortless men that are duds, that just are gonna flicker around. I don't even know the word, like jump and jump and jump from one woman to another because they don't have the psychological and emotional maturity to go deep, 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 deep with you. Because you women are endless. You are deep, 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 deep. But before you even can invite a man to go deep, 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 deep with you, you need to go that deep with yourself. How do you do that? You need to do the emotional work. You really can't get deep orgasms in the depths of these types of orgasms until you go emotionally deep with your own self and you start healing your own wounds and traumas and you start respecting your womb and you start getting to know your womb. Start to get to know your pussy. You need to be able to go in and explore yourself. I've said this on like 4 podcasts. When is the last time you even looked at it in the mirror? You're taught to be so ashamed of it, you won't even look at it in the mirror. Name her, treat her like a goddess. That's your goddess, right there in your pants. She will never steer you wrong when you are in tune with her, okay? Get to know her better, talk to her, ask her questions, touch her. Look at her. Meditate, ask your womb questions. Ask your whole yoni space questions. You have to get psychologically and emotionally nude and deep with yourself. And you need to reclaim the power in your pussy. And you need to stop falling for the bullshit that's put out there that it's okay to allow any bunk DNA in your body, to allow any bunk energy into your body. Look at yourself as a queen. You are a fucking walking goddess on this planet. Do you understand? You are a representation of the goddess in physical form on this earth. This is why I fucking hate Western culture. I feel like I was born in the wrong part of the world. Because the West is based in Abrahamic religion, we are void of the understanding of the goddess because Abrahamic religions are void of female worship. They make up stories like Eve is the cause of the fall of humanity, so women are looked at as evil. In Eastern religions, India obviously they actually have more goddesses than they do male gods. The concept of Shakti and female worship is well known there and understood, ingrained in the culture to think a certain way. And I'm not saying that like their culture is perfect or something, far from it. Patriarchy is everywhere. There's just an easier time, okay? Because when you have a goddess to look up to, if you understand Shakti and you understand these different aspects of the female goddess, you start to understand the divine feminine better. You are a walking representation of the female goddess of Shakti on this earth. There is no life without you. Think about that. There is no life without you. And they're brainwashing you to think that you should become a man, mutilate your body, not have kids, not do the most powerful thing, not even be in relationships with men. Please, there's obviously, some underlying shit going on in social media to keep men and women separated. There is, because Yes, I think that it's healthy that both sides are getting shit off their chest, but it's becoming very toxic. And at some point, we need to come together, and men need to get the emotional maturity to listen to the women. Because, you know, talking about girl math, boy math, and all of that, let me tell you what girl math is. Girl math is multiplication. That is all we know how to do. Whatever you bring us, we multiply. You bring us those tiny little sperm, we multiply that and turn it into a whole fucking human. You bring us food, we turn it into a meal. You buy us a house, we turn it into a home. We multiply. That's why in toxic relationships, men will enter into the relationship and build their life up and leave the woman with fucking nothing. Because the woman only knows how to multiply and she builds up, but she will also do that at the expense of herself because of how we are trained. And the patriarchy knows this, and this is in the subconscious of a lot of men, and they will use you to build up their life and then they'll leave. And the disharmony in the relationship, 9.9 out of 10 times is actually going to be because of the male. And you need, as a male, if you're listening to this, need to take responsibility of that. That is actually the most masculine thing that you can do. Because all women know how to do is multiply, we literally do it. We do it without thinking. Because that's what feminine energy does. It receives energy and multiplies it. We can't do anything else. That's what feminine energy does. So if you're bringing bullshit and disharmony and dysfunction into a relationship, you're going to get that back times 100. So when I hear men nagging about their partners, about their female partners, all I'm doing is looking at that man like, you're the fucking cause of this. You're either not giving her proper orgasms because you're emotionally stunted. You don't even know how to give orgasms physically. Because yes, orgasms are a big part of our emotional psyche as females. Most of us don't even realize that. You're either not a strong provider or you're not a strong protector and she doesn't feel safe with you, or whatever you're bringing into the home energetically, she's just multiplying back in your face and she doesn't even realize it. And you're blaming her for the problem. She is basically a magic mirror of you, and it's just bouncing your reflection back to you times 1,000. And the reason men start getting resentment towards the woman is because she's causing him to look at himself constantly times 1,000, and they hate it. So what do? They run off. It's that first emotional wall. Instead of changing, I'm going to cheat. They need to find a woman that will accept the behavior and isn't smart to it yet. Oh God, we have a long way to go in this society, but I am telling you right now, it's going to be the women that change it, because a matriarchal society, and I know this is in my fucking DNA because I am indigenous Ryukyuan. They're a matriarchy. Matriarchy is really oligarchy because women don't care about being in control over things and having power over things. We want all of humanity to be okay. We are naturally nurturers. We aren't rape and pillage. Okay? We don't naturally have a colonizer mindset. That doesn't come from the female energy. It comes from the bunk out of balance masculine energy that is patriarchy. Because that ain't divine masculine. That's not true masculine energy. That's not alpha male energy. That's, I'm so beta, I need to put my power over a group of people or a gender of people in order to feel powerful. What is, like, the whole alpha male thing got misconstrued too, because that is not alpha male. That's like underdeveloped little boy bullshit that you need to put down a class or group of people in order to feel in power. And then actually literally have to make laws about it. Pathetic. Just go back over time. Colonization, misogyny, all of that shit, that's all done on powerful races, powerful cultures, powerful spirituality practices and religions, and the powerful gender. All of the oppression is put on that. That's why it's oppressed. That's why it's oppressed. Because it is so powerful. Something has to be powerful in order for it to be oppressed. If something is down at the bottom, it can't already be oppressed. It's down at the bottom. This oppression is put there on purpose to rob something of its power so that something else can rule over it. We really need to wake up to this concept, ladies. You need to protect your pussy at all costs. You need to look at sex as sacred. Take the advice my nana gave me. You know, you need to look at yourself as a goddess. If a man is going to do anything less than worship you, fucking get rid of him. You deserve better. And don't be afraid, well, I'm not going to find anybody, so I need to lower my standards. Fuck that. Because the more we lower our standards, we're teaching our next generation to start low. And then to compromise that, and it becomes even lower. Demand better for yourself. Walk in your fucking power. Stay wicked against this goddamn system. Because there is nothing more powerful than a woman in her wild, divine sexuality, demanding worship on all levels and walking in her full-blown wickedness. Want to be part of an online community filled with other badass women supporting each other on their wicked journey? Check out my online community, the Wise Woman Network. We have classes, courses, online community meetings, and more. Activate that sleeping goddess within and unleash your divine power. Join me today on a free trial to all my listeners. Link is in the show notes. I'll see you there.